We're going to carry on from where we left off in class. So we're going to go to 1.8a, do together, and we're adding or subtracting mixed numbers. Remember that we're adding or subtracting mixed numbers that are like fractions. So the denominators are matching. So that means the denominator will stay the same. We're going to follow our steps. We're going to subtract our whole numbers first. 8 minus 1 is 7. Our denominator stays as a 6, and then we'll subtract our numerators. 5 minus 1 is 4. Remember, we're going to have our answer in lowest terms. So 4 and 6 are both divisible by 2. So that's going to get us to 2 over 3. So our final answer is going to be 7 and 2/3 for number 1. For number 2, we're adding. So we're going to add our whole numbers together. 2 plus 9 is 11. And then we're going to add our numerators together. 13 plus 3 is 16 over 24. This is a proper fraction, but it's not in lowest terms. So we're going to divide by our greatest common factor, which is 8. We'll divide both of these by 8. So that will give us 11 and 2/3. For number 3, we're back to subtracting. We subtract those whole numbers. 6 minus 4 is 2, and 7 minus 5 is 2 over 12. And again, we're going to reduce to lowest terms, this time dividing by 2. So the final answer here is going to be 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 2 and 1/6. For 1.8b, we're going to be doing the same thing as 1.8a, except it's going to be written in a vertical format. So the look is different, but the process is the same. Some students really like to have the numbers written vertically, others do not. Personally, not my favorite to have them written vertically, but we can do anything. So we're going to go ahead and add and subtract here. These examples show us how to add and subtract like fractions. So we notice that the denominator of number 1, they're all 7s. So that won't change. And we're going to be adding our numerators together. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So we have 6/7. What we've got here for number 3, for the adding example, is 2 mixed numbers and a proper fraction. Remember that a proper fraction is less than 1, so that's like having a 0 in front. We're going to follow the same steps. We can add our whole numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then our denominators are all the same, so we're going to be adding our numerators. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus another 6 is 12. So we have this improper fraction that we need to change to a mixed number and add that mixed number onto the 5. So 12/10 is equal to, 10 goes into 12 once with 2 left over, 1 and 2/10. Let's get that to lowest terms first, and then we can add it onto the 5. So that will be 1 and 1/5. We add that to the 5. So our final answer is going to be 6 and 1/5. Subtraction works the same way. Here we have 2 proper fractions, no whole numbers to subtract. We have a denominator of 18, so we're going to subtract 12 minus 10 is 2, and then let's reduce to lowest terms. So we're going to divide by 2, so our final answer will be 1/9. Let's go ahead and do 1.8b together. So we're going to follow our steps. We add or subtract our whole numbers. 8 plus 6 is 14. For our second step, we add or subtract our numerators. 3 plus 3 is 6. Because they are like fractions, the denominator is already the same. It's beautiful. And third step, we reduce to lowest terms. So we're going to divide our fraction by 2. So our final answer will be 14, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 14 3/5. Number 2, we don't have any whole numbers to subtract, so we're going to go ahead and subtract our numerators. Our denominator stays as 25. 12 minus 8 is 4, and this fraction is already in lowest terms. For number 3, we're going to add our whole numbers together. 11 plus 3 is 14. Our denominator is 30, and we're going to add our numerators together. 21 plus 9 is 30. Now remember, numerator and denominator are the same. 30 out of 30 is 100%, right? 30 out of 30 is equal to 1. So we're going to add that 1 whole plus 14, which is our whole number. We will get a total of 15 here. For 1.8c, adding whole numbers, fractions, and mixed numbers, this time we're going to be adding whole numbers to either just a proper fraction or a mixed number. So we'll look at some examples here and then we can do our do together. So experience tells us if we have $2.50 and we find $3, we now have $5.50 because we just took the $2 and we added to the $3, and the little bit of change that we have, the $0.50, the 50 cents, that comes along for the ride, right? So we end up with 5.50. So this tells us if we add any whole number to a fraction or a mixed number, we simply add the whole numbers and write the sum with a fraction. So let's look at the few examples on this page. So if we take 2 whole and we add a third, so 2 whole things, let's call them pies or pizzas, and we add a third of another one, we end up with 2 1/3. If we have $7 and we add $4.50, we simply add our whole numbers and the fraction gets carried over. So 7 plus 4 is 11 1/2. For number 3, if you have 4 1/3, and then you add 5 whole more, then you simply add the whole numbers together and the fraction gets carried as well. So 9 1/3 is the result of 4 1/3 plus 5. Sometimes we make fractions harder than they are, and this may be the case for 1.8c. We see a whole number plus a fraction and we feel like we need to do something special here. But really, this fraction is like a 0 2/3. So we're going to add our whole numbers together. And because we don't have a fraction beside the 4, we don't have to do any more adding of fractions. We just bring the fraction along. So 4 plus 0 is 4 2/3. It can be written backwards or the other way. Again, this 1/5 is less than 1. It's like 0 1/5. We add our whole numbers, so we follow our steps. 0 plus 6 is 6. And we're just taking the 1/5 because the 1/5 is not being added to another fraction. For number 3, we have 9 plus 3/5. Again, it's like 9 plus 0 3/5. We simply add our whole numbers and we get 9 3/5. One question that sometimes gives a little bit of grief is on the exercise 1.8c, question number 12. What we've got here is 10 plus 8 3/3. So if we follow our steps, we're going to add those whole numbers together. That's going to give us 18, and then we bring that fraction along, 18 3/3. But this is not a simplified fraction because look, we've got 3/3, and we have learned that 3/3 is equal to 1. So 18 3/3 is like 18 plus 1, and 18 plus 1 is equal to 19. At this point in the course, and we're on Thursday, September 2nd, The exercises for lessons 1.7 and 1.8 can be completed, and you can check your own answers in the back of the module or at the end of the enhanced workbook in Moodle. And the cumulative review from 1.1 to 1.8 is also something that's really good because it focuses back on all the lessons that we've learned so far. And that way, if you've forgotten anything or you get stuck, then you know the things that you need to review or ask about. Today was the very first quiz opening at 12:30, and it closes tomorrow at 3:30. After the quiz closes, I will be showing the grades and the solutions. So you'll be able to click back into the quiz, and then you'll be able to view your grade and the solutions if you had gotten any questions wrong. It's a 5-question quiz, so it's a short one. Other things to consider doing over the next day or so would be your practice quiz. If you are new to Moodle, it's optional, so you don't have to take the practice quiz. But I would like you to take the practice assignment. It's only 1 question. And I would like everybody to do that so I can see that you can get a file picture into PDF form. You don't have to do that right away. You do have some time for that, so that's something to consider maybe trying over the long weekend. And remember, it's a little bit different for us to be in this online real-time environment, so you're really going to have to look at the schedule to keep on track each day and keep communicating with me when you feel stuck on any concept so that I can help you so that you can move forward with confidence. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.